The year was 2005, or as you may know it, 4AFAF, after Fast and Furious. To say the Fast and the Furious movies, even if there were only a meager 2 of them, had had a dramatic impact on the world would be a massive understatement. Vin Diesel and Paul Walker's 2 epic movies came in like a windrammer and left the entire human race shell-shocked. They were simple popcorn flicks with modest reviews full of cool cars, hot chicks, and dude bro action. Yet for some reason, some bizarre reason that people just couldn't figure out, they wanted more. There was something happening between the lines that just kept them far more invested than they should have been. Something penetrating to the back of their minds that this wasn't exactly all as it appeared. There were deeper things going on. There was philosophy and genius visual storytelling. There was passion and heart. To the people who were willing to clear their minds, drop any bias and pretense, and accept what they were seeing and ponder it, these movies became borderline religion. But when the world desperately needed the Fast and the Furious 3, they were left to fend for themselves for 3 years. America became a battlefield. The once tranquil and serene streets of suburbia became trenches, craters, and cemeteries. Behind the scenes, the man himself, Paul Walker, was willing to keep making these movies. He loved doing them, but something was preventing him and the rest of the cast, for that matter, from coming back. Officially, the studio just wanted to take the franchise in a new direction with fresh young bucks. But with some investigating, we can deduce a possible reason nobody wanted to come back. If we look at the box office returns for Fast 1 and 2, roughly $4 million, and then see that Paul Walker only made around $2 million between both films, it becomes pretty easy to see why everyone said fuck this and opted to make 8 Below and The Pacifier instead. Fast 3 was set to feature no Walker, no Diesel, no Tyrese, no Rodriguez, no Hector, and no Ludacris.
Ludacris is in it?
No.
They still wanted to keep the lights on, but without being willing to pay the actors fairly, they opted to do what any studio would under extreme circumstances. Hire a relatively unknown indie director to create a brand new movie with all new characters that have no connections to the previous movies, and then release it direct to DVD. They ended up releasing it in theaters anyway though. That relatively unknown director turned out to be Justin Lin, writer and director of the indie smash hit BLT, or as is actually known, Better Luck Tomorrow, to avoid confusion with the much more popular bacon lettuce tomato sandwich. Better Luck Tomorrow might be most well known, however, as that movie that got Roger Ebert to yell at that guy at Sundance.
What I find very offensive and condescending about your statement is nobody would say to a bunch of white filmmakers, how could you do this to your people?
The studio saw potential in him. Better Luck Tomorrow was sleek and stylish, it was cool, and most of all, it was sexy. Everything a Fast and Furious movie needed to be, but it was also philosophically rich, and it meant something. It earnestly told the struggle of first-generation Asian American teenagers searching for an identity. The studios knew to call this man Macaroni, the way he fucks with the craft. Together with writer Chris Morgan, the two would forge one of the best movies of 2006, and to this day, the best Fast and Furious movie ever made. It's hard to put into words how good Tokyo Drift actually is, and I should know, I've literally already made this video and am remaking it because I didn't do a good enough job. Tokyo Drift is everything a cool movie should be. It's smart, don't click off, I'm serious. It's sexy, it's stylish. Even at a cursory glance, you can tell that this is just a movie for the boys. You got the hot sports cars and the hot girlfriends and all the oversized jeans and your big skateboarding shoes and the hip-hop music. It's like the most 2006 thing that has ever existed. Tokyo Drift is a story of love, a story of vengeance, and a story of discovery. Sean Boswell is a southern-drawn 24-year-old, 17-year-old high school student who just got the speeding ticket of his life. Yep. That's Sean. You're probably wondering how he ended up in this situation. Let's rewind a little bit. Sean is your average everyday guy with greasy hair and he wears a gray t-shirt to school. I've always hated his haircut in this movie. I know it's incredibly basic, but somehow it just looks like so greasy and like Frankenstein. No. Sean is quiet and reserved. He's your classic, don't fuck with me, I won't fuck with you kind of guy. He's a bumblebee. He's not so good at math, but he's great with cars and doesn't give an F about school spirit. I'm not good with cars, but I was never big in the school spirit either. I'm gonna kind of dox myself here and mention that my high school song has a line about how we would gladly die for our colors. Yeah, I'm sure in 1920 that sounded badass, but in 2018, when I was at school, it was a pretty real likelihood I might die for that school. You know, from shooting.
But every now and again, someone comes up and goes, I'm about to fucking take it to the house. I gotta shoot these fucking kids.
So Sean is walking to his car after school, and the kid from Home Improvement exercises his cuckoldry fetish on him by allowing his girlfriend to bet her holes that Sean is a worse driver and would lose a race.
Winner gets me.
Pussy had me dead.
I mean, technically, that's a win. The police offer him an ultimatum. Go to prison for destroying this multi-million-dollar neighborhood development, or go to Japan. They should give that deal to everyone. We should just flood Japan with destructive, violent criminals. Anyway, Sean goes to Japan because he remembers that's where the anime girls live.
Can't you go find a nice Japanese girl like the rest of the white guys around here?
And we meet his father, a Navy seaman stationed in Tokyo. Sean's father is unironically one of my favorite characters in cinema. When we first meet him, he is very clearly being caught banging a prostitute. This retroactively confirms that Sean's mother is also likely a prostitute. I mean, who else would wear that to a police station? Old habits die hard, I suppose. Sean's dad starts out his role trying to be like this, boy, you better fly straight or ship out, son, type of guy, like Ted's dad in Bill and Ted, but almost immediately he just stops giving a shit. I mean, his son joins the Yakuza like 12 hours after he arrives in the country. Like, you're just, God, dude. Come on, get a grip. Sean goes to school the next day, a regular full Japanese school, not some sort of like special military school for kids who don't speak Japanese, just a regular school where he can't understand a goddamn thing, so he's just like fucked. And he meets a guy named Twink.
Japanese food is like the army. Don't ask, don't tell.
Who drives the incredible Hulkmobile. Twink is like this movie's Resident Evil 4 merchant. He's always got all sorts of useful items and wares for sale. But instead of dressing like a school shooter, he's dressed like a Reese's Puffs commercial. Also, Twinkie is the only character in the series to know that he's in a movie. His knowledge is vast. Love the guy, though. We do need to address the elephant in the room, though. There are people out there who posit that Twink does not even exist. I know, it's a crazy theory, but bear with me here. They cite evidence such as, there is not a single scene with Twink interacting with anyone besides Sean. Evidence 2, his backstory is never revealed, like what is he doing in Japan? Is he an army brat? No, because evidence 3, his license plate doesn't have the letter Y on it, which is the denotation for family members of a foreign military, so therefore, the theory goes that Twink is a Tyler Durden-esque blinged out playboy stereotype conjured up by Sean, and also they're both gay, and here's a drawing of them kissing. Lucas Black is really not gonna like that drawing. I guess while we're here, let's just talk about all the main characters. Neela is an Australian girl who's lived in Japan all her life. She plays Sean's friend slash love interest and is a fellow drifter and car enthusiast. Her parents aren't around anymore, so she actually grew up with her boyfriend Takashi's family, which is super weird. Takashi, the Drift King himself, who was dating Neela at the start of the movie. Now, if I'm understanding their situation correctly, it sounds like she was basically his step-aunt, since Neela was taken in by Takashi's grandmother, but we're not, whatever. Can we go one movie where someone doesn't fuck their aunt? Oh yeah, I don't even think I mentioned that in the Perks of Being a Wallflower video. Yeah, his aunt fucks him in that movie. Now, Takashi is the nephew of Tokyo's Yakuza, so he's technically not a Yakuza, but he basically is. He does various crime-type things, but the important part is that he's just a real piece of work. He's abusive, manipulative, stupid, and honestly, he can suck my dick 6 ways from Sunday. And then, of course, you know, we have to talk about the real Drift King himself, Kaiichi Tsuchiya, technical consultant of Initial D, and the king of drifting, who plays a fisherman in this movie. And then there's Han. Now, Han is a relatively simple character. The story begins in Better Luck Tomorrow, where he joined up and worked with Dom and Letty while they were hiding in Costa Rica by Jason Statham as an act of revenge. Faked his own death, just eats chips in this movie. But he also takes on the role of Sean's drifting teacher and just a general life mentor. He's also stealing from the Yakuza, which only gets funnier as the franchise goes on. Anyway, back to the plot of Tokyo Drift. Sean learned nothing from... So he challenges Takashi to a race, believing that all racers' girlfriends can be won as collateral in street races. Han gives him his Nissan Silvia to see what happens. Sean completely destroys the car, failing to execute even one drift, and as penance, his soul is entrapped by Han and by extension the goddamn Yakuza. Eventually, Han and Sean become friends. Han teaches him the splendor of drifting as Takashi loses everything. His step-aunt girlfriend, his honor, and his sauce. At some point, Sean just leaves his dad's house and moves into Han's garage, and his dad is just like, well, more time for hookers. Then Han explodes in a violent car crash triggered by his Yakuza embezzling shenanigans after Takashi's uncle finds out that Han has been stealing money as a goof. So, with his mentor dead and Neela stolen by the Yakuza, Sean only has one choice. Challenge Takashi to a race. Loser leaves town. They put Han's Nissan engine in the Ford Shelby, perfectly merging his past with his present, and they go for a winner-take-all deathmatch on DK's mountain. No, not that one. Sean's dad is like, at least you're not making my mistakes. And I don't know, I think he's making far worse ones. Anyway, Takashi crashes because he sucks now, and they release Neela. Sean is crowned the new Drift King. Just add that to the list of white people dubs. All this was a nice self-contained story in the Fast and Furious universe, and then Vin Diesel shows up and in one fell swoop manages to secure the franchise rights to Chronicles of Riddick and ruins the Fast and Furious timeline forever. But that's a story for another time.
I didn't know he was into American muscle.
He was when he was rolling with me.
But now that I've recapped the plot beat for beat for some reason, even though I usually don't do that, and it probably added like a full week of editing to a video that's already extremely redundant and kind of pointless, we can start talking about the shit that actually matters. Tokyo Drift is cool, the plot is fun and simple, yada yada, who gives a shit? It alright. What do you mean, it alright? It alright? It not subtle or nuanced. It tasteless and lukewarm. But it alright. Well, that's where I'm gonna have to stop you. Sit you down in the middle of the woods, make you look out at the beautiful infinite sunset, and put the coldest steel to the back of your fucking head and just... It's not just alright. It's the best. It's not just cool, but it's smart, it's brilliant, layered, and genius social commentary, and it's a well-done critique of xenophobia, cultural barriers, and a lesson in finding the self that is all wrapped up in the spiritual dichotomy of drifting as a philosophy. I swear to God, I'm not joking. Okay, but seriously folks, the big boy satire and philosophy comes right at the start of the movie. The first 2 minutes have absolutely no dialogue, instead scoring scenes of an American high school with the song 6 Days by DJ Shadow and Most Def. The high school is obviously an allegory for post 9/11 America, showing a student body decked out in their pride, all wearing purple and yellow and white, while simultaneously being subjected to authoritarian surveillance and random searches. We see Sean get stopped and searched, a man with no school pride who thinks this is all goofball shit. But then we see the school's mascot, someone who has turned pride for his school into his whole life, being subjected to the very same guilty until proven innocent standard. He wields the sword and shield, the power to fight back and defend himself from tyranny, but he simply accepts it and allows this to happen with a simple shrug. They both laugh, for different reasons. The camera zooms out and we see the scene through the eyes of Big Brother, but what fascinates me even more and what ties all of this into the main plot of the movie is this sign on the wall. Go Ducks, kill the Indians. This is when it all clicked for me, when I finally understood what everything in this movie really meant. The Indians are clearly a rival school's mascot in Sean City, and this is brilliant in several ways. In the America is high school bowling for soup metaphor, the Indians function as an allegory for racism and xenophobia, trivializing their schools or their people's whole identity into an object of hate and conquest for Sean's school. It's a distraction from the real enemy. They want us to focus on these bullshit, I hate you because you're different than me fights. Let the poor and unwashed masses fight amongst themselves so they never have to see who's really their biggest threat. Post 9/11 America became obsessed with anti-Muslim or Middle East hate, the media painting the Middle East as this jealous, bully desert land where everyone wore bomb vests, and anytime we blew up their weddings it was a day for celebration. Meanwhile, the attacks gave the government free rein and public support to invade countries, drill for oil, and establish domestic agencies to monitor and arrest citizens who stepped too far out of line, all while we focused on the guy selling kebabs with an accent. Or at least, this is what I think Justin Lin was trying to say with this intro. Partially. Tokyo Drift's central theme is being an outsider. It's not the most unique message for a movie, but the way Tokyo Drift tackles the subject matter isn't that these outsiders found a home. In fact, I don't think Sean, Han, Neela, Sean's dad, or Twink are even outsiders in this movie. The outsider is Takashi. You see, back in the beginning of the movie at the school, we see a shot of the jocks, Patriots, destroying a piñata character of a Native American, the rival mascot as I said earlier. Not only are they mocking the genocide and suffering of native populations literally, but symbolically the message is clear. Destruction is profitable. By destroying the thing that they hate, they reap the rewards. Cheap, acidic, sugary candy. Do you think they ever even considered being friends? Do you think they ever thought that they didn't need to be enemies? Despite their differences? That's the point of Tokyo Drift's main plot. Right there in that scene was the point of Tokyo Drift's plot. Takashi never needed to hate Sean. Sean's only crime in this movie, besides his actual crimes in this movie, was daring to be white in Japan.
Well. Guess who just got kicked out of Tokyo for, you guessed it, being white?
While Han, being an outsider himself, just saw someone new, Takashi saw different. Gaijin, you are not like me, so you are my enemy. If Takashi could have just been chill, Sean simply would have just hung out, watched some drifting with his new friends, but by pushing Sean deeper and deeper into this world, Sean gains friends and a home while Takashi loses everything. The cheap thrill of an easy win turns sour and leaves you with nothing. Sean's dad tells him the nail that sticks out gets hammered. There's the boy who was dragged into a closet and sprayed purple by the gang of bullies. Purple, the color of conformity here. This kid was the nail and they were the hammer. But conversely, Takashi's uncle tells Takashi, for want of a nail the horseshoe was lost, for want of a horseshoe the steed was lost, for want of a steed the message was not delivered, and for want of the message the war was lost. The nail in the right or the wrong place can make all the difference. This is a movie all about cultures, where you come from and where you're going, mixing elements of Eastern and Western philosophies. But beyond the main plot of Tokyo Drift, there's also the literary dichotomy between the control needed to drift a car and the balance needed to live a good life. And to fully explain this, I need to start with Justin Lin's 2002 indie film, Better Luck Tomorrow, which, while it is a good movie on its own, it is also Han's secret origin film and the key to understanding Tokyo Drift. Better Luck Tomorrow is the story of a group of first-generation American Asian high school students getting bored of their honor roll lives and progressively working their way up from selling cheat sheets to crimes that will have them in jail for 25 to life. Desperate to escape stereotypes and what's expected of them, they start to overindulge in Western, hustle, gangster, get money ideals, and they all start spinning out, ruining their lives. Now look, I'm of the opinion that you should secure the bag by any means necessary too, but the issue the characters face was not being able to strike that work selling crack to white kids life balance. But what does this have to do with Tokyo Drift? Well, stinkass, what Sean exhibits that Brian fails at is the balance of identity and morals between the two cultures in his life, the one he was born into and the one he's reborn into. Sean's Western cowboy I'm the best mentality continually gets him into bad situations, and it's not until Han and Neela show him the way they do it in Tokyo that he starts to thrive and come onto his own.
What's the point of a race?
See if I'm better than the other guy.
Just proves you're faster, that's all.
Sean comes from a culture of the best guy gets the girl, wins no matter what, macho balls to the wall philosophy. His first race with the guy from Home Improvement is a petty nonsense race for dumb reasons. They talked shit about each other's cars and then Sean challenged the guy's masculinity. It was dumb and it could have ruined their lives. Sean learns to both stop taking driving so seriously all the time and also to not race unless it was really important. Driving can just be fun. Finishing off the opening of the film, the first race Sean has with Brad from Home Improvement is foreshadowing the final race he will have with Takashi. Both races easily could have been avoided, both races were to get a girl, and both races were ultimately the fault of two insecure assholes. The only difference was how Sean evolved to view the world and his approach to racing and life. In the first race, Sean is driving for himself, he wants to flex and prove this guy is wrong no matter what, and by seeking only to serve himself, he only destroys, but destruction paves the way for rebirth. By the end of the movie, Sean has grown past his childish, selfish desires, and now he races in honor of Han and to save Neela from, most likely prostitution by, the Yakuza. Takashi didn't grow, he stayed the same arrogant, destructive force he always was, and just like Sean and Football Jones at the beginning, he crashed and burned for it. It's because Sean was open to trying new things, he was open to new people, and he enjoyed the challenge and respected the game. Now look, I'm sure you're sitting there, mouth agape, scratching your bare asshole, wondering, this guy, he's making stuff up, this was never intended by the directors, you're digging into details that really aren't there. Listen to this line from the commentary.
Here's the kind of the representation of American high school. Just wanted to get an overall feel of how it is to be in high school today, and just some of the kind of hypocrisies that exist.
But even if Justin Lin didn't throw me that bone, it doesn't really matter. That's the thing about art. I can interpret it any way I want and explain my insane, mentally ill view of it while you sit there and eat your chips off your own chest staring at the TV like a slack-jawed bitch, and then the next video is gonna autoplay and you're not even gonna remember watching this, unaware that this took me 50 hours to make, and I could have spent that time going to your baby mama's house and whipping M&Ms at your kid's head full speed. Tokyo Drift, whether you like it or not, is an important conversation between cultures. One that satirizes, explores, and elevates elements of American and Japanese life to convey a very unique theme for a summer blockbuster. How your past blends with your future, and finding your identity as an outsider, but remembering where you came from. Something people tend to criticize the Fast and Furious movies for is their sexism, and this one, I don't know, I wouldn't really say it was. I mean, sure, you got tons of ass shots, go-go girls, and women being used as collateral for street races. Personally, I always like the initial D street racers get zero hoes approach, but as I've already established, Tokyo Drift is an allegorical film, much like the Holy Bible, so we really shouldn't take these events at face value, and more so as further satirizations of society. However, I can excuse the claim that the women were used as prizes purely for sexist reasons. The first girl to be put up for prize is Cindy, the lady dating the Home Improvement cuck. Now first of all, they were merely engaging in cuck play fantasies, so it was rude to kink shame them. But even if that wasn't the case, there's still interesting characterization going on here. With one proposition, we can theorize that A, their relationship sucks, 2, their relationship is so strong and she has so much faith in him, or 3, this girl just really likes getting turned out. The use of a character like Cindy in the symbolic sense too is pretty interesting. Perhaps the writers are making a statement about white kids playing gangster and imitating cool shit they see on TV. Or this is simply foreshadowing, showing us a shallow, pointless race with a girl we don't care about as the prize, versus the end of the movie when Sean is racing real gangsters for a girl he loves, to illustrate his evolution from cocky, arrogant dickhead to Drift King and hero of Tokyo. As for the go-go dancers and the models and the ass shots, I don't know what to tell you, man. I said this was a cool movie and I meant it. The asses might be real, but you know what else is real? Nearly every stunt in the movie. The drifts, real. Reese Millen and Samuel Hubernett just did this shit. The spiral drift up the ramp. The crew was theorizing rigs and pulley systems to fake it, and he was like, Guys, just give me the wheel. And he did it first try. I want this man to drift my daughter down the aisle in a 2003 Honda Civic hatchback. And speaking of shit being real, you can't get much realer for how the cast and crew had to film in Japan. You see, Japan ain't quite like America where we'll shut down a city for 3 weeks to film dumb bullshit who cares the movie. Japan told Universal, fuck you and your stupid fucking movie, no permits, yourself. So Universal said, suck a fart out of my ass, and just did it anyway, guerrilla style. They had fake directors go to jail for Justin Lin, and they just went out with the actors and filmed them in real crowds and people and real train stations. According to the commentary track, at one point during the big car chase scene, they took 2 trucks and blocked off real Tokyo traffic just to record the stunt team drifting by.
And here, this is Shinjuku coming up. We went guerrilla style. We just kind of had a couple trucks block the street and had the cars drive down, you know, kind of did it old school.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know why they'd say it if it wasn't, but that is just, it's so insane for a big budget movie, well, mid-budget movie. Most of that chase is in a fake Tokyo and Los Angeles, but just for a few seconds, apparently they just did that. This movie was made by criminals. We gotta arrest these guys. But look, I do gotta admit, I actually don't think this is a perfect movie. I know I'm about to be crucified by the very community I just created in the last 20 minutes, but my only real complaint is the pacing. I wanted to spend more time with these characters, get to know them all better, and get wrapped up in the world. I think re-adding many of the deleted scenes back in, such as Twinkie explaining his whole car, and Takashi's conversation with Sean, the train station scene, could help flesh these characters out more. I think my biggest issue is how quickly we leave the scene after Han dies. Wait a second, Han dies? Hyundai? You think I'd let you roll around in a Hyundai? Feels like he explodes and we're immediately moving on, which is weird since he's an important character and he just exploded. But what's even weirder about his death, at least in this movie's canon, is just how random it is. It's not one of Takashi's guys or Takashi himself, it's just a random, in this movie, Mercedes. Because Japanese drift stores always have to have a Mercedes guy fuck everything up apparently. When Sean goes to challenge Takashi later, it's not even as revenge, he just says like, this beef is annoying, let's have a race and also let Neela be free. Han isn't really mentioned much after he explodes either, like you'd think it would be a way bigger deal to Sean or anyone else, but it just kinda isn't until the Vin Diesel cameo. All in all, the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift is great. It really sticks out in the franchise as no other movie is quite as deep or down to earth or intelligently written, but that honestly makes it feel more special to me. It's this anomaly that came out of nowhere and then went away. Later movies bent over backwards trying to make this film fit into the continuity and also flesh out the relationship between Han and Dom, but ignoring all of that and the insanity that causes in the space-time continuum of this universe, Tokyo Drift stands alone as this brilliant piece of art house cinema. One that I couldn't just talk about only once. Tokyo Drift, however, is to this day still the lowest earning Fast and Furious film, and the studios knew they had to stop fucking around. Despite how much fans bitch about the series' modern direction and miss the days when the movies were about street racing and cars, the Fast and the Furious' most car-centric and street race-focused movie just didn't resonate with audiences. Most people simply did not give a fuck, and the fact is, the autistic guys who mostly just like pausing the movies and pointing at every car while their girlfriend sits on the couch going, wasn't bringing in enough money. They needed mass appeal. They needed something everyone could understand. This series needed to get much, much stupider.
Let's get some pussy tonight.